Hey everyone, so today I'm going to go over the financial cost of swapping the S54 into my E36 M3. I'll also be going over pretty much the stuff that I purchased for the car that I had to purchase, as well as a few other things that I actually didn't need to purchase. This might be helpful to you if you're planning on doing this swap as well. So I'll cover like things you might need to keep, things that I kept that didn't add an additional expense. Also, I'll go over the things that I sold from my M3 to recoup some of the costs, and at the end I'll do a total cost breakdown minus things that I sold on this bill. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'm going to start with the big ticket items because I think those are going to be the most important, probably what everyone's wondering about. With these prices, also keep in mind that they may vary. Some of the used prices for engines and transmissions and just different parts that you might buy used could vary depending on who you buy it from, where you're at regionally, and just what the market looks like for any of those given items. So the first thing, so I purchased a S54 engine and transmission harness and ECU for $3,500. I found a pretty good deal from a friend of mine that knew somebody that had an engine, and got a really good deal on it. So it was complete, really good condition, 85,000 miles, which I think is pretty unheard of to get a deal like this. So I would say that this is probably an anomaly, but if you guys are familiar with like my channel and the videos that I've done in the past, I definitely do look for deals and try to do budget quality builds. So a couple things about the engine that I purchased. It did come with the transmission, the 6-speed transmission, as well as the engine harness and the ECU. So really good news that I didn't have to spend additional stuff for that. And it really just saved me in the end from having to purchase a few other things. I did also purchase a Beamer World S54 exhaust setup. So essentially this is the Y pipe that connects to the headers. And then there's like a midsection with the resonator that connects to the stock E36 catback exhaust. That ran me $600. And I bought that used off of the Facebook Marketplace, so you might be able to find a good deal like that. Another big ticket item, I had to purchase the adapter harness. I purchased this from a guy on the Rev Limited page. His name's Andrew, and he charged me $550. So if you are planning on doing the swap and planning to swap it in your E36, you will need that adapter harness. It's going to make life much easier, and it's just like a plug and play. If you guys saw my previous video, you saw how everything was routed. Much needed in my opinion. Don't spend the headache trying to wire it into your E36 harness and all that stuff. Just get the adapter harness and make your life easier. So like I mentioned, I did the 6-speed swap as well. In order to run the 6-speed swap on your E36, you're going to need a custom drive shaft, and it needs to be shortened because the one that comes on the manual E36 is too long, and so it needs to be shortened. So there was a guy locally that had planned on doing an S54 swap into a sedan, and actually had done a group buy years ago and just had that sitting around in his house. So I purchased it from him for $550. And I would say that's a pretty good deal because I didn't have to source anything. I didn't have to wait for any parts and measurements and all that stuff. So it's already balanced and ready to bolt on. The next thing is a refresh kit that I had to do for the rod bearings. So I bought the VAC rod bearing set with the ARP head stud or bolts. That was $479, and I purchased that. I would say if you are swapping an S54 into your E36, definitely recommend doing the rod bearings, because you never know if it was ever done or if they're on their way out, and makes it much easier to do it while the engine is out of the car. The next thing I purchased was an Auto Solution Euro Shifter kit. That was that was $560. Um, so because of the 6-speed transmission, it sits a little differently than where the E36 transmission's at, so you can't use that shift linkage, and you have to get a Euro spec version from the Euro E36 M3, which Ronald at Auto Solutions built for me, and it was $560. It shifts really good. It's a little bit taller, but I would say quality is top notch. Alright, and then I did buy the basin setup to replace the vanos. So a lot of stuff. I bought the solenoid coil pack, which was $450, the oil pump disc, which was $450, the exhaust tub, which was $400 because mine was cracked. I also purchased various little gaskets, but in total it was about, I think, $1,200 or so. And I would recommend upgrading it. I mean, this car is pretty much bulletproof engine-wise, so I would definitely recommend upgrading that stuff. I also had my car tuned by HTE Performance, and that was $399. It was a remote tune, so he just logged into my computer and tuned it. Since I did the 6-speed swap, I did upgrade my clutch and purchased a Sachs clutch and lightweight flywheel. Actually, no, the lightweight flywheel did come with the car, so I just purchased the clutch, and that was $350. And I got a hookup from my friend for that, so not too bad. I did mention that there were some jobs that I didn't feel too comfortable doing. The rod bearings was one. My buddy did that, and he charged me $300. He did that and helped me do the vanos, which I was really grateful for because the timing was a mess and the timing was off. So the fact that he is a BMW mechanic and works at a BMW shop, I felt really comfortable trusting him to do it. And he charged me a good deal. It's $300 for both, so really appreciate that. Let's see, moving on. Alright, so my gauge cluster, I think you guys all saw that I have a running AC and working temp gauge, check engine light. Well, in order to do that, you have to get a Z3 cluster from like the newer models. So I got one from a 2002 Z3 gauge cluster, or Z3, and that ran me, let's see here, that was $300 to get it coded, and then $199 for the cluster itself. So right around $500 for that setup. I would say it's a pretty worth it deal because you want to have those things making sure that they operate correctly. I did buy Megan Racing headers for $289. Those are needed unless you want to run stock headers. I did have the stock ones, I just didn't want to run them. I also had to purchase the stock E36 plenum, intake plenum, as well as the airbox, and that ran me $250. It also did come with the math, which is good. It all works and functions correctly. I didn't have one with the engine, so I needed that. I purchased an alternator because mine was corroded, so purchased that for $215. Also for fueling, you'll need to upgrade your fuel pump. E36 one probably will work for a little bit, but I would recommend upgrading it. So I bought Castle Performance's drop-in wall broke kit for $190. Also for cooling, I bought a Z3M mechanical fan for $184. That's the fan clutch and the blades. So you'll need to do that if you want, or people run the electrical fan or like a spall fan. I didn't really want to do that, so I just ran the clutch one. And guys, I might be going out of order. I'm going like priciest to less pricey, so that's kind of why I'm going out of order. So As I mentioned earlier, I had the the drive shaft that I purchased. One thing about that is that mine's a 6 bolt differential, and the drive shaft was a 4 bolt, so I had to swap out the input flange, and I bought one from Vorschlag from a 4 bolt for, what was the price here? 150. So made it an easy swap. I didn't have to change out my differential or anything. I just removed my old input flange and then popped in this 4 bolt. Also, I purchased the silicone throttle body boots for $115 from Turner Motorsports. Mine didn't come with them, so I had to purchase the boots and the clamps. Alright, moving along, I also purchased oil. You're going to need oil, so it cost me $80 to get the Liquid Moly 10W60 oil. I also had to purchase what is it called? I guess they're called vacuum pump hoses, but they're the ones that go off the brake booster and then go into the intake plenum and then go into the air rail. But I found someone that was selling it used for $81. If I would have had to purchase it brand new, it would have been like $200. So really good deal, and it's just hoses that plug in correctly, as well as have that little connection that I had to extend. I also purchased a power steering pump for $80. I sold mine with my E36 engine motor and ended up giving it away when I should have kept it. So make sure you keep yours if you are doing the swap. Let's see. So I got some basin stuff in here as well. Looks like upper chain guide, $80. Vanos rattle repair kit for $80. Vanos diaphragm spring set for $80. So those are all in addition. I think I just kind of added it up. It's still $1,200, what you can probably plan for. Okay, crankcase breather hose. I had to purchase a new one of those. That's $75. I believe that's the one that goes into the oil pan underneath the intake manifold. Alright, so with the expansion tank, I did have to purchase the Euro expansion tank bracket, which was $70, as well as a Euro cross-member trans brace, which was $67. And those you do have to order from Europe, so plan for a little bit of time before they actually arrive. Alright, and my engine did not come with an engine cover, nor did it come with the engine cover nuts, so I wanted to make sure I had that. The engine cover nuts were $58, and the engine cover was $100. So, yeah. Also, you're going to need the heater hoses that go from the S54 to the E36 heater valve. I purchased those, and it was $51.66. So also need that. Let's see. Okay, engine mounts. It looks like I purchased 2 of those, and they're the E36 engine mounts. I purchased those for $50.44. So not too bad. We're getting to the end, guys. It's a lot. I will add it up in the end. I also ordered the Beamer World Vanos line, which was $49.99. I would recommend replacing that because they're prone to leak. I also purchased a new AC tensioner kit for $47.99. I also ordered new spark plugs for $47.99. I also ordered a fuel pump relay for $43.32. And this one came with 2. It looks like it came with the black and the green one. I ended up using, mine was wired for the green one, so I purchased both. I didn't know what it was going to be wired for, but I heard people buy the black one, which is more expensive. But I found both for like $43. So let's see. Oh, it looks like I purchased another coolant hose, and this one goes from the engine to the heater valve for $39.93. Expansion tank, the Euro one, for $38. bought that from Beamer World. The EGR delete, I bought that from MSW for $35.99. Let's see here. E36 engine wire and harness box. So like I said, I took out my old engine wire harness and then sold it and left the box there. I wanted it to look clean, so I purchased one off of eBay for $35. S54 cam gear bolt kit. So these were upgraded cam bolts from Lang Racing. I purchased them for $30.85. In order to run the electronic, the drive-by wire for the pedal, you do need to get the, what is it called, pedal adapter plate, and that was $30. My whole engine did come with the pedal as well, so thank you, Mark, for including all the extra stuff that you did. Let's see. Okay, for the cooling system, E39 coolant pipe hose was $28.80. I did purchase exhaust stud nuts for $24. That seems pretty expensive. I'm not sure why I did that, but I did that. Vanos rattle tool from Basin was $20. OEM coolant was $19.49. Sweet. Oil pan gasket I purchased for $15. And then the Basin sealing plate repair kit was $10. For the oil pan, there is a gasket ring that I purchased. Let's see. No, that's not it. I purchased 6 of these, and it was $9.90 for all 6. I can't remember what exactly that is. Redline assembly lube for the rod bearings was $8.61. Oil filter housing gasket was $8.50. Alright, and then the Euro coolant mounting bracket, which is another bracket that you need, was $8.46. We're getting down to the end here. Vanos gasket was $8.21, which you will need if you do your Vanos. Clutch fork pivot was $7.99. Then for the cooling, leveling switch radiator, you need that switch. Let's see, that was $8. And then in order for the expansion tank to reach the radiator, the hose, you got to get 8mm and 6mm hoses. I would say about 6 feet, so just plan for that. And that was like $7 at AutoZone. I got a cap for the coolant, and that was for the coolant tank. That was $7. Oil dipstick tube seal was $6.99. Engine oil pump pickup tube O-ring was $5. Wiring port was $5 from the junkyard, and that's just to clean it up. You don't really need that. I'm just a stickler for shit like that. Center gasket ring for the valve cover gasket was $3.99. Oil dipstick tube O-ring was $2.99. And then the hose to the atmosphere was $2. I don't even remember what the hell that is. Oil pan bolt was $1.99 for 2. Oil pan bolt, the longer version, was $1.19. Tensioner gasket ring was $1.19. And then there's just some crush washers for like $1 or $2 and things like that. So that's pretty much everything that I purchased for my S54 swap. The grand total is $12,058.45, which is significantly more than what I paid for the car. Maybe not significantly, but $2,500 more than I paid for the car. The good news is that although it does cost a lot, you can recoup a lot of that money, especially if you do it yourself. So Now let me cover the things that I sold to offset the cost. So the first big one I would say is the S52 engine and transmission. I sold that for $2,500 along with the wiring harness. So I sold the engine, transmission, wiring harness, and ECU for $2,500, which I think if it would have been 3 years ago, you know, that would have been a crazy deal. But because S52s are going up in price, you can make a pretty good deal. And in some cases, maybe even more. I put mine up for $3,000 and sold it within a few, I would say a month or so for $2,500. I had the deal lined up, but I hadn't pulled it out of the engine yet, or out of the car. So also I had, if you guys remember my interior swap, I did the Modena like color change. I ended up selling that interior for $1,100, although not really pertaining to this. It did aid in the recouping some of that money, which was nice. Catalytic converters, I had the E36 headers as well as the E36 mid-pipe. Got made $480 off of those. I also, in this time, I have a Honda Pilot that I ended up replacing the cats and ended up selling those for $200. So anything you can sell to try to recoup a little money is totally worth it. I did also get as an extra with the engine and the whole package, I got S54 throttle bodies, which I sold for $400. So I thought that was a really good deal. Vano ceiling plate, Vano solenoid. I had credit with, you get like a credit with Basin. So that's $600 that you can recoup as well. From the 12, was it 12, 1400? I think in total it was like $800 that I ended up spending, but still pretty good. My E36 M3 cluster, I made back $150. So total, what I recouped was $5,430. Bringing my grand total of what I spent minus what I made was $6,628.45 to have the E36 M3 S54 6-speed car. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I bought this car for $10,000. So in it so far with the engine is about $16,000. As well as the interior, which is about another $4,000. About $20,000 I'm in this car. And I would say it's totally worth it. I think the only remaining things I probably need to do to get this to be like more pristine condition is get some areas painted, like the hood, the roof, and the trunk, and this thing is going to be perfect. So that's kind of what it costs to do this engine swap. I would totally recommend it and do it all over again if I had the opportunity. I know it can seem a little overwhelming, but when doing the swap, it's really not that bad. And especially if I was able to do it, I'm sure any of y'all could do it. A couple things to keep in mind when you are doing the swap. You'll want to keep a few of these items to make the swap much easier so that you're not having to go back and try to source these parts. But the E36 engine arms you're going to want to keep, the E36 AC compressor, AC lines, and then the mounting bracket to the E36 engine you'll keep. You'll also want to keep your E36 radiator as well as radiator hoses and heater valve. One thing I really didn't touch base on that a lot of people talk about or really say that it's needed is the engine harness. And I didn't use the MZ3 harness like everyone recommends. I actually just used the engine harness that came with the engine and the whole setup that I got. I only had to extend 2 wires, which was the MAF wire and the brake booster. Everything else fit perfect, and it fits in here perfectly fine. It stretches over and fits perfect. I would say you might want to spend a little bit of time reluming and removing some of the rubber grommets that are no longer needed, because the way they maneuver the harness, it could like just cause kinks. So that's pretty much it. I hope my wife doesn't watch this video, because she knows I spend way too much time on these cars and money, but she really likes this car as well, and she can't believe that I made the swap happen. So hopefully the video helps y'all in potentially, you know, answering some questions about what it costs to do this sort of swap. You definitely don't need to pay a shop. You definitely don't need to take it to a professional. Like I said on my last video, I did everything in here. Everything was in here. Nothing that I had to go anywhere else. And you might be able to do that. I think I got lucky on some stuff. I would say I got lucky with the engine and the transmission and that whole setup. I got lucky that a guy locally was selling the drive shaft. And then I also got lucky that I just didn't have a lot of hiccups that took place. So I think that happens when you research and spend time making sure that you dot all your I's and cross all your T's. So hopefully this video helps you guys, and we'll catch you guys on the next video. I will be posting another video where I will be uploading another video with point of view driving. I just need to get like a GoPro, so I can put it right here and then go for a drive. So with that being said, guys, I will catch you guys in the next one. I know this is a long video, but hopefully it serves you well. Peace.